This tutorial is dealing with the differences with integers, and many of you understood this for the most part, but there was a little bit of confusion in the lesson that I want to help you clear up, and so hopefully this short tutorial will help kind of clear that up. So let's go ahead and get started. We're just going to do a we do one, a we do two, a you do one, and a you do two. And then you'll go ahead and work on the tutorial page on your own. So let's look at the first one, the we do one. Okay, we do one. Let's say the temperature in Alaska is -10 and the temperature in Yuma is +100. Go ahead and write that down. Push pause and write that down. I kept it not a big word problem because I didn't want you spending a lot of time writing. Pause, write it down, and then push play again. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to tell you to do on this is draw the temperature gauge. So you have the temperature gauge, you know, that has like the red in it. I don't have red color on this one, but red in it. Okay. And we've got 0 as one of the temperatures, and then you have the above 0 warmer temperatures and the below 0 colder temperatures. And so we're going to kind of graph out what we had. The temperature in Alaska was -10, so it was down here at -10. And the temperature in Yuma was +100. +100, it was above 0. So there's where these are at. And in your previous grades, you have been taught that, oh, well, differences means subtract. And every time you hear difference, it means subtract. But that's the case, I suppose, when you're only dealing with everything above 0. And up until this year, you've mostly been dealing with only positive numbers, and we're now introducing you to the negative world of integers this year. So you just have to recognize the difference, and when you draw pictures it makes perfect sense. So if you're trying to find how far it takes you to get from here to here, that's what differences means, is how far does it take you to get from here to here. Then we just have to kind of consider what the steps are. It would take me 10 steps to get from -10 to 0, so it would take me 10 steps. And it would take me 100 steps, like the absolute value, right? It would take me 100 steps to get from 0 to 100, from 0 to 100. So what would the difference be? How much would it take me to get from here to here? Well, it's going to be the 10 and then also the 100. So because I'm on opposite sides of 0, I need to get to the 0 first, and then I need to climb up to the 100. So I'm going to just add those numbers together, and the difference between those two temperatures is 110 degrees. Okay, and then let's look at we do two. I'm going to take the same type of idea so I can show you the difference between what happens here and what happens here. Here, when the numbers were on opposite side of 0, I ended up adding them together. But what if they're on the same side of 0? I have a temperature in San Diego of +70 and a temperature in Yuma of +100. And on your tutorial worksheet you have an area set aside for you to get this copied down to. So I'm expecting to see that copied down too. And the first thing I would be telling you is, we'll draw the temperature gauge so your brain can see it. Do your brain a favor and let it see what's going on. So we have a temperature gauge with a 0 on it. And we have the temperature in San Diego is above 0. It's +70. Here it is, 70. And then we have a temperature in Yuma that is also above 0 at +100. Well, I don't have to. The difference between this sort of thing and this sort of thing is, to get from one to the other I had to go all the way to 0, and then I had to go even more. Well, I don't have to go to 0 and then back up again. That's not how that works. They're asking me, if they were asking me the difference between the two temperatures, I would just be going from 70 up to 100, and that's just a little bit of ways. It's not get all the way across and up. It's just this little bit of ways is all. So that's why difference is a subtract, because really, let's count by tens and get the answer to it. So we would go, that's a 100. So it would be 70, 80, 90, 100. Well, that's a 30-degree difference. 70, 80, 90, 100. If I took 100 the bigger number, and I subtract the smaller number from it to find the difference, I would have gotten, oh, there was no borrowing there. 10 take away 7 is 30, which is what I got, 30 degrees. So when they were on opposite sides of 0, here's 0, and this guy lived on this side of 0, and this guy lived on this side of 0, I had to cross over 0. I had to get there and cross over it, so I added them together. But when they were on the same side of 0, I didn't have to go all the way back to 0. I'm just going from here to there. That's why you subtract there. And that's why there's a difference between these types of questions. Sometimes difference means subtract, and sometimes when you're dealing with negative numbers, difference can mean add. So you just have to be really careful, draw pictures, and know what's going on. All right, you do number 1. In a game, John's score was positive 15 and Sam's was negative 10. What was the difference between their scores? Go ahead and draw a number line, plot those scores on the number line, and then see if you can find out what the difference was, and push play once you have an answer so you can see if you got it correct. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have a number line down here with 0. I'm going to count by 5s. These are both multiples of 5, so I'm going to say 5, 10, 15, and negative 5, negative 10, negative 15. I'm going to plot these on the number line. John's score was positive 15 over here, and Sam's was negative 10 over here. And I need to know the difference from here to here. Well, to get from this spot here to 0, I would need to take 10 total steps. 10. And to get from 15, or from 0 to 15, I would need to take 15 steps. And difference is asking me, well, how many total steps are you going to need to take to get from here all the way to here? Well, I need the 10 and then to get to 0, and then another 15. So in this case, because these are on opposite sides of 0 and I have to get to 0 before I can continue on, I would be adding these together, and so the total would be 25. The difference in their scores is 25. Okay, for you do number 2, in a game, Lee's score was negative 5 and Sam's was negative 10. What was the difference? Draw a number line and see if you can figure out what the difference was between Lee's and Sam's score, and push play when you are ready to check your answer. So I'm going to start with my number line with 0. And again, these are multiples of 5, so 5, 10, negative 5, negative 10. And then I'm going to plot these on the number line. Lee's score was negative 5, and Sam's was negative 10. All right. I'm looking for the difference from here to here. How far am I traveling from here to here? Well, I don't need to travel to 0 and then beyond again. I'm hanging out on the same side as 0 as this guy, so I just need to travel from this guy to this guy, or from this guy to this guy. And so how many steps are right in between there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 steps in between. So I could subtract. If it was bigger numbers, I would just go ahead and do the subtraction. I take the 10, the bigger absolute value, and I subtract the 5, the smaller absolute value, and I would get 5. There are 5 steps to get from one to the other. So I used subtraction here. So they asked for difference, and sometimes I used addition, and sometimes I used subtraction. It depended on where they were compared to 0. One was on one side of 0, one was on the other side of 0. I needed to cross over 0 to get to the other one. I added. But on this one, they were both on the same side of 0. 0 is here, and they both lived in negative land. And so I didn't need to cross over 0. I could just go from one to the other. And so in that case, difference was subtract. That's why you've been using difference as subtract all along. Your teachers have been teaching that to you all along. That's fine, because you were just dealing with this side of 0. You were living in positive land the whole time. And so I've just introduced a whole new world to you, and so I had to kind of make an adjustment to the rule. I hope that clarified things. Go ahead and do your tutorial worksheet and we'll see how it goes.